Hi, everybody. Welcome to the GEICO 15-Minute Moto Show for another episode. I'm your host, Ralph Sheheen. Today, we're going to talk about flat track racing, and we're winding down one of the best careers this sport has ever seen, that one of Bryan Smith. Bryan, how are you? Congratulations on an unbelievable career with, what, 4 to go?
Yeah, 4 races for me, 5 on the season, but 4 miles for me all in a row in 2 weekends to wrap it all up.
And that'll be 2 at Springfield and 2 in Sacramento.
Yes, sir, you got it.
Well, and those Sacramento ones are pretty good for you because what you won 7 in a row out in Sac, was it?
Yeah, I think it's 7 consecutive in a row there at Sacramento, and I've won 9 times at Springfield, not in a row, but the 7 in a row at Sacramento, any track, but a legendary place like Sacramento, I still can't believe I did it.
Yeah, well, what is it about Sacramento or Springfield for that matter that, I mean, maybe the question is more about just you on the miles because you have been known as the mile master. 25-mile wins. You're tied for 3rd with Bubba Shobert, who is another legendary mile racer. The only 2 guys in front of you two are Scotty Parker and Chris Carr. I mean, that's rarefied air. So what is it about you in the miles?
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked that question a lot for the last, 10 years of my career, winning the miles more than anything. And it's, if there was one answer, I could tell everybody else how to do it. And even though if I could, I probably wouldn't. But I think a lot of the mile racing, it just boils down to more strategy and a thinker's race. And as a racer, I've always been a smarter racer, a more calculated racer. And that pays off on the mile. And an old racer once told me, a smart mile racer's out there playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. And that's the best way to sum it up, to a non-racer. You can outsmart the guy as opposed to being braver than the guy. And that's usually where I'm stronger as a racer.
Okay, so and that's a great quote and very true. If you're to back up, because a lot of times that pass for the win on a mile is either entering at 3 or coming off 4 to the line. So if you're being the smart guy, how far are you back timing that? How far back are you thinking? Are we talking a lap, 5 laps? Where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of know going into the main typically who the player is going to be, and you're sizing them up the first 20 laps. But 5 to go, that's when, it hits the fan in a roundabout way. You step it up, the competition steps it up, and then you realize, okay, there's 1 player, there's 2 players. Is he stronger off turn 4 to the checkered flag? Am I stronger? Do I want to lead it? And sometimes you can do everything right, and the 25th lap, it all goes wrong, and you got to just react to what happens. And I've got lucky and I've got unlucky a few times, but knock on wood, I've got more lucky on the miles than anywhere else.
But you have had success in TTs and half miles, so you've been an all-around racer, good enough to win the championship in 2016, I think it was. Is there anything about these miles that one suited you better than another? As you talked about, you've won a bunch at Springfield and Sac and some of the others, but was there something about the dirt at those venues or the lighting at those venues or the shape of the corners? What was it?
Yeah, a little bit of both and different for each one. Springfield, it's a big chess match, everybody's back and forth. There might be 18 guys and it's a single file line. If you slip up, you go from 1st to 10th in a heartbeat. And, it's the strategy, like we just talked about, the chess match, where, you got to outsmart the guy. Sacramento goes to the surface of the track. It's got a real defined groove, but it's also like a slippery, greasy groove where throttle control pays off and keeping your momentum and really timing the draft on those long straightaways at Sacramento.
What is it about mile racing that really gets your blood pumping? Is it sliding the bike into the corner, tucking down on the gas tank down the straightaway? What is it that really gets you excited?
The part that gets me most excited is going and watching on the inside of the straightaway or the inside of the corner. Because I think they're crazy. Then I got to go up and line up and race those guys. I mean, if you've seen it firsthand, you go down on that guardrail, we're coming at you at 130, wide open, just flick it sideways into the corner, and there's a guy here and a guy here, and you're just having at it. And it's when you're out there, as a racer, it seems calculated and precise. Watching from the sidelines, it seems like pure chaos.
If you could have, in this final race at Sacramento, 3 other guys fighting for the win with you, who would be your dream 3?
You mean as far as like in fantasy land?
Yeah, full fantasy land. Final
Well,
race on a mile. You got one more shot at it. Who's the dream 3 you want to race?
Well, the dream 3 I'd want to beat, just because I never really got to square up with them, would be Scotty Parker, because he is the real mile master, who thankfully he taught me a lot of his little tricks through the years, growing up in Flint underneath his wing. But I never got to race him straight up. So he's always got bragging rights because I never got to beat him. And he lets me know that every time we have beers together. So I'd like to race Scotty, Chase Springsteen, my other fellow Michigan Mafia, and then the guy I'm tied with, Bubba Shobert. If it was us 3, me and those 3, it'd be one heck of a race. I think everybody would agree to that.
You didn't put King Kenny Roberts on there.
No, I mean, Kenny's awesome, but he just wasn't a guy that he was a little bit before me. And being from Flint, I looked up to Springer and Parker so much. Of course, you can't deny King Kenny and everything he's done. And I'd want to race him as long as he wasn't on that TZ 750.
Yeah, well, boy, as a guy from Northern California, getting to see King Kenny is something you'll never forget. So why now, Bryan? You're still fit. What is it about 2021 that made you say, I think it's time?
A few things. This is my 20th year professional, never mind the 8 or 10 years leading up to, well, I guess about 10 years as an amateur leading up to the pro rank. So it's 30 years of doing this every weekend. I'm thankful and appreciate everything I've got to do, but I've realized maybe I want to do a little bit more in life. Not be at the races every week, not train like I'm a Navy SEAL to go racing. So a little bit of that, enjoy some other things outside of racing. I have a worn out right wrist from years of abuse racing, 20, 30 years, as we just said. That's caused, it's like similar to a knee replacement. If they could replace the parts in my wrist like they do a knee, they did it 5 years ago. Unfortunately, they really don't. So this season, it became pretty evident that the wrist is not going to hold up much longer. So knock on wood, Springfield and Sacramento are usually as smooth as a pool table, and it shouldn't aggravate my wrist. But either way, I'll tough it out and make it work at those races.
Just tie it wide open and go from there, right?
Yeah, I think I heard a story about Gary Nixon a long time ago at Springfield, something like he had a reverse throttle spring. So when he let go of the handlebar, it went wide open. So I was thinking nothing else, I could do that.
Well, Nixon was one of a kind, that's for sure. There's a couple of people, Howerton you mentioned already as one, and Bo Lamassus at Crosley, the name on the hat you're wearing,
Yep.
have been a big part of getting you to where you've gotten in flat track racing. They've been a huge part of your career, haven't they?
Yeah, for sure. I was, in the pro ranks for 10 years or so, and had a few national wins on the XRs and the 450 short track bikes. And, it was kind of the stale point in my career where everybody was on XR 750s. The sport was kind of stale. And I met Ricky Howerton by chance through a friend of ours, Jeff Gordon, who actually currently builds the engines on my Indian. He introduced me to Ricky. Ricky introduced me to Bo. It's a fairy tale barroom story of how we all met. And went to the first race, should have won. I screwed up. We got third. Went to the second one after that. We did win. And as they say, the rest is history. And to back up, I met Jeff Gordon, the engine builder, that introduced me to Howerton in Scotty Parker's bar in Flint, Michigan. So I always say 2 things. Thank God Scotty Parker bought a bar, and who says good things don't happen in bars?
Well, I met my wife in one, so you're right.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Your career is also known for, you mentioned the Harley, the XR 750, which everybody rode, because as you mentioned, it was the bike for so long. But you also brought Kawasaki back into the top steps of the podium, and you're also a big part of Indian, and Indian is where you're going to finish your career. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your experiences with the three brands.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. One thing I'm pretty proud of is to win a mile national on three different brands. Not many of my heroes or many flat track guys can say that. I won it on a Harley XR 750, the Kawasaki 750, and then now the Indian. I won before, and hopefully we'll get a couple more on it. But that's I'm pretty proud of that because it shows I'm an all around good rider. Doesn't necessarily mean it's just the bike, because a lot of people thought for so long, oh, the Kawasaki's so much faster, that's why he's winning. And I backed it up on the Indian and kind of proved him wrong. And I'd like to pat myself a little bit on the back for that one. But it was cool to bring Ricky and Crosley in with the Kawasaki and not just do it on another XR 750, because it showed the sport, the media, that there is more life in flat track, and it brought a lot of new teams and riders that wanted to build Kawasaki's because they're more reliable, more affordable. And I think that might have led to even Indian getting involved in the sport, seeing that, oh, the XR doesn't just dominate flat track anymore. It's getting beat by a modern day, two cam 4-valve engine. So it's cool to do that and then do it on the Indian as they came in, and now they're dominating. So, as you've seen the last couple of years, the XR, or not the XR, the Harley XG, I tried to beat the Indian on that. The year before that, I tried to do it again on the Kawasaki. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done. So I guess you can't beat them, you got to join them. So I'm back on the Indian for my final year.
Well, as you look back on it, is there anything you wish you had accomplished that you didn't?
Of course, you can say you always want to win more. And there was a couple of championships I lost out on by either bad luck or 1 point, but I'm totally happy with my career. I mean, every racer wants to win more. Every team owner wants to win more, but I've won more and did more than I ever thought I would in the sport as a kid. So I'm more than thankful. I'm happy to walk away, but damn well I'm gonna be going for those last 4.
How much harder will you push on these final 4?
I mean, it's gonna be like I never won one before in my eyes, because it's my last shot at it. I don't want to wake up in a month and go, man, if I'd have just held it on a little bit longer into turn 3, I'd have won it. I want to say, man, I left it all on the table and walk away happy.
You have done some TV. In fact, you and I called some flat track together with Jason Wygand. Is that something you're considering?
Yeah, I'd like to. It's fun. I know, unfortunately and fortunately, that's all I know in life is flat track. So I can, spread a little light on the sport. I'd like to do it a little bit more, but I gotta take some more notes from guys like you to really get my game together before I try that world out anymore.
Well, maybe you just open up another bar like Parker just on the other corner.
I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm competing against Parker again in the bar business, which he's better at that, drinking the booze than he was at racing a motorcycle. So I'll stay away from that business.
Well, maybe it's better just go hang out at his place and let him buy.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. He don't have a problem buying. He shares. He wants everybody to be happy.
That's great. Well, Bryan, thank you so much for joining us here today, and best of luck in these final 4 races.
I appreciate it, Ralph. We'll see you soon.
Okay, Bryan Smith, he's got 4 races left to go on those miles. See if he can separate himself from Bubba Shobert and become number 3 on the all-time win list all by himself behind Scott Parker and Chris Carr. Even if he stays there tied with Shobert, that's some pretty rarefied air. The mile master for sure. I'm Ralph Sheheen. Thanks for joining us on the GEICO 15-Minute Moto Show. We'll have another episode for you every week right here on Speed Sport. So long, everybody.